I used to be terrible at Shatterline expeditions. I didn't know what to do, where to go, or what the heck I was supposed to prioritize. Don't get me wrong, it seems simple enough, right? Shoot the aliens, don't die, and you're good. But what else is there? To make matters worse, failure isn't an option here. You fail, you lose everything. So after a full week of grinding, failing, and learning, I think I finally cracked the code. I figured out the most efficient way to make sure that all that effort does not go to waste. And today, I'm sharing everything with you. To make this even more worth your while, especially for those who have not picked up the game yet, I've hidden some game codes throughout this video. So keep your eyes peeled for that, and let's get started.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're in the mood for some side work. It's no secret that we at CPL are interested in technological advancements granted by the Crystalline. For our research, we require certain resources from the impact zones. These resources are rare and not easy to obtain. That's why we need your help. Here's how it works. You extract the goodies for us, and we turn them into cool new pieces of crystalline tech. You do your job well, and everyone wins. Happy hunting, folks. I'll be in touch.
Expeditions are all about humanity's survival in a world being completely overrun by the crystalline infection, a nasty alien threat mutating life forms and corrupting the environment. That's why you'll see swarms of aliens and all sorts of environmental hazards designed to make your life miserable. You're not just shooting for survival here. You are operatives working for Shellguard, a faction tasked with fighting back against this alien menace and uncovering the deeper mysteries surrounding the infection. Your main objectives? Collect and extract samples, eliminate enemies, and destroy the source of infection in each sector. Now, I want this guide to be as thorough as possible, which is why I've included a sheet in the description down below. Here, you'll find all sorts of data about expeditions so that you can do your own deep dive. There are also chapters in this video, so feel free to jump around at your own pace. Alright, let's dive into the most basic aspect, which is the game's interface. So when you drop into an expedition, here's what you'll see. On the upper left corner, you've got your minimap, which shows what sector you're in and highlights the enemies with a red radar. Below that is the threat level, which tells you how intense the enemy spawns are going to get. Next up, we've got the list of available objectives. Keep an eye here as these will guide you throughout the map. To the right of your minimap, you'll see resources. Now, salts are shared across your party, but shards and spores? Those are all yours, so grab them when you can. At the top of your screen is the contamination bar. This tracks the environmental modifiers, making your run harder. Keep an eye on that because it will come back to bite you if you don't. Moving over to the lower left, you've got your team's HP and the list of operatives. Right down the middle are your skills and ultimate abilities. And if they're not showing up yet, that's probably because you haven't picked any up from a supply drop. And finally, there's your weapon hotkeys, ammo, and available supply drops. Press tab and you'll see contamination effects, your score, and perks you've acquired. Press B and you'll pull up the details of your current weapons. That's it. That's the interface. Keep this in mind because it will make your run way smoother. Now, as you drop into the map, the first thing you'll see is a cargo drop. If it's your first time, or if you failed to extract in your last run, it might not have much in it. Oh man, I get the VSS again. Ideally though, this cargo should include your loadout from the last expedition, your primary weapon, skills, and perks. Here's the thing about PvE in Shatterline. The game doesn't really tell you where to go or what to do. There's no such thing as you go from point A to point B, then to point C, because you're absolutely free to roam. But I'll tell you this, there is a more efficient way to do things so that you can make the most out of your run. So you ought to start off with balancing salt farming and supply farming. You need 25 salt to call in a supply drop at a mule, and each mule can only grant one supply drop per machine. You want to max out the 3 supply drops per sector before moving on to other objectives or traversing to another sector. Trust me, this makes all the difference. And if you're worried about weapons early on, don't be. Your pistol is surprisingly strong and can carry you through the start of an expedition. So prioritize perks and skills from those supply drops over fancy weapons for now. As you explore, you'll run into enemies. Lots of them. There are 2 main factions you'll face: the Crystalline and the Strafers. Here's a trick. Always pay attention to your crosshair. It changes colors when you're aiming at the enemy's weak spot. If it turns yellow-orange, you've found the sweet spot. So keep firing there for extra damage. Sometimes you'll need to reposition to get a better angle, but it's worth it. When you encounter sentries or spawners, make sure to take them out ASAP so the nuisances stop adding up. Oh, and one more thing. Kiting is your best friend. Use the sliding mechanic to dodge attacks and reposition when things get chaotic. Alright, now let's talk about objectives. There are 3 main types, starting off with the main goal, which is assigned at the start of your run. Secondly, we have contracts, which are optional and can be accepted via the mules. Now, contracts are optional and can be accepted at mules, but some contracts are a bit tricky, like locating lost supplies. You really have to check out the nooks and crannies of the impact zone to complete this mission. Lastly, our world activities, which pop up as you roam around the map. Now, here's another tip. You don't need to do everything. You can gauge which actions are worth the rewards so you don't end up wasting time. Feel free to keep doing activities and objectives until you reach level 3 or 4 contamination. Pushing too far puts you at risk, and failure means losing everything. So let's run through a few common activities. We have Crystalline Treasury. Salt is crucial. It's the currency you'll spend on supply drops, contracts, and decontamination. For treasuries, clear enemies outside the portal first, then jump in, clear more enemies, and collect your rewards. Sometimes you'll get lucky and find 2 treasure chests inside. For abandoned supply, this one's like the tutorial objective, but tougher. You don't need to go through the shard skin sample collection, but you do need to protect the samples while they're being extracted. Focus on clearing enemies here, especially the grenade launchers first, since they deal the most damage. For Strafer Depot, you'll have to activate the main terminal, then interact with the 3 EMPs scattered around the area. You'll be spread out from your teammates, so stay alert and keep moving. Decontaminator is probably the most important activity in expeditions. It costs 30 salt to activate, and you'll need to defend it while waves of enemies attack. Why is this important? Well, because every time the contamination bar fills up, you get hit with a modifier that makes your life even more miserable, like random spawns of strafers or explosives, or maybe even tankier enemies all around.
Contamination percentage is climbing. Contamination figures went up.
The Decontaminator reverses 1 bar of contamination, so use it before things get out of hand. If you let contamination build up to 5 bars, the game will force you to extract, and trust me, it's not worth sticking around at that point.
You need to evac squad. The contamination levels are too high.
Anyway, in case you guys wanted to copy how my squad does it, here's how we do our expeditions. First up, we hit salt deposits and crystalline treasuries. Then we use mules for 3 supply drops, as well as some contracts along the way. We complete those 2 as long as we can. Then we decontaminate when needed. We take out the sector bosses, then traverse to either another sector or just extract.
So wait, so is this endless? So like...
Yeah, we have to choose to extract. We have to vote to extract if you want to leave the game. We rinse and repeat all of that until contamination gets too strong. Now let's talk about prepping for an expedition. I know, it sounds like we're going in backwards, but in reality, it's much easier to digest how prepping works after you've gone through an expedition. As of now, there are 8 operatives split into 4 classes. You've got your Trooper, Support, Exo, and Recon. I'll be discussing these operatives in a later video, so watch out for that. But for now, resources like shards and spores are actually used to upgrade your Shell Guard operatives. And here's where it really gets crucial. Upgrading your operative's skill tree. This is key to surviving and progressing further in expeditions. My advice is to upgrade 1 operative at a time to speed up your progression. Weak operatives cannot sustain in extreme expeditions or hardcore dungeons. Trust me, I've tried and failed. Without those upgrades, your operatives won't deal enough damage or withstand the onslaught of enemies these modes throw at you. So it's not just about survival, it's about efficiency. The only downside to doing this is that if you fail an expedition, your operative will go on cooldown, and you can't use them instantly unless you pay up. On top of that, certain classes give you access to different parts of the map. Recon classes, for example, can climb up to areas that are inaccessible to others. while exo classes have explosive abilities that can break open tough gates. This makes team composition important, as the right mix of operatives allows you to explore more. This is also the reason why Kite is such a fan favorite in this game mode. Being a recon operative with an explosive ability, he's perfect for reaching those hard-to-access areas that others simply can't get to. Now, you're probably sitting there thinking, just tell us what the best team comp for Expedition is! Here's the deal. There's no one-size-fits-all. It really comes down to your party's playstyle. Some teams are so mechanically gifted that they skip support classes altogether.
I don't want to play with you anymore.
The best thing to do is to play around with different operatives, maybe even test them out in the shooting range until you and your squad find what works best for you. For weapons, on the other hand, let's focus on Tier 1 weapons early on. As you guys can see here in the armory, we have a weapons XP bar at the bottom. Unlocking higher tiers will let you mix and match weapons, but if you use weapons from the locked tiers, you won't earn XP for them. So stick with Tier 1 until you unlock Tier 2, then go from there. And that wraps up the fundamentals of Shatterline Expeditions. I hope that I was able to help you tackle the game with more confidence. And if I get more info about heavy metals or other game updates, I'll be sure to follow up with another video. For now, hit that like button, grab those codes, and I'll catch you in the next one. Good luck out there!